Hi everyone and welcome again to this new video tutorial in my channel. I received many letters and comments that asked me to explain the most famous library in the world of data science and artificial intelligence programming. So I will present to you a series of videos consisting of 5 parts in which I will explain in a simple way everything related to these libraries: NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, and Seaborn. My name is Salah and today we're gonna start with NumPy. In this video tutorial we will see a technique for loading, storing and manipulating data. They can come from a variety of sources, but we can always think of them as a table of numbers. For example, an image can be thought as a two-dimensional array, a matrix, where each number represented by one pixel. For this reason, it's essential to be able to handle these tables. In this video tutorial, we will see a tool to manipulate this array. Is our famous library NumPy. NumPy, short for numerical Python, provides an interface for storing and performing operations on data. In a way, NumPy arrays are like a list in Python, but NumPy make operation much more efficient, especially on a large array. NumPy arrays are the heart of almost the entire Python data science ecosystem. So let's start by importing our NumPy. Today we're gonna use the platform of Google Colab, Research Google. So let's start by importing our NumPy array. So we're gonna type import NumPy as NP. Let's wait. So it's okay, it's done. Then we're gonna create a NumPy tables from a Python list. Let's type that NP point array. Sorry. Let's put 1, 4, 2, 5, and 3. And let's run this. So we're gonna our first table. It's a Python list. It's a table of integers. That's like we see 1, 4, 2, 5, 3. It's a table of integers. In the starting list, there is a data of a different type. NumPy will try to convert them all to the most general type. For example, integer int will be converted to floating, point number, float. Let's take an example. So let's take np point array, and let's take our first value, a float number, 3.14, 4, 2, and 3. Let's run this. So, like we see, our first number is a float, so Python try to convert the other numbers to float numbers, like we see 4 point, 2 point, and 3 point. We can also manually specify the type of the numbers, like np want array 1, 2, 3, 4. The type, and let's make float. And run this. So like we see, our integer numbers is converted to a float because we specify our type in the command. So like we see, 1 convert from integer to float, 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, 4 point. Unlike Python list, NumPy array can be explicitly multidimensional. That is the multidimensional array. But in native Python, we represent a multi-dimensional array by a list of lists. Let's try a list of lists is transformed into multi-dimensional array. Let's take an example. np.array. Let's make a range of take I plus 3. Then for I in 2, 4, 6, and run this. So like we see, we create a matrix of 3 columns and 3 rows. Like we see there. Now let's create a table directly from our library NumPy. So an array, let's create an array of length 10 filled with integers that are equal to 0. Empty point zeros length of length of our table 10 and that type float. And let's run this. So like we see, we had a table of 10 length and all our numbers are 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Let's now try to create an array of size 3x5 filled with a floating point number of value 1. So we're going to create an array of size. Let's precise our size here. 3 is 5. 5 columns and 3 rows. Filled with the floating numbers of value 1. So we're going to take empty point once, three rows, 5 columns, 5 columns and 3 rows, yeah, and 3 point. We had a mistake here. Type, no, sorry. The type and float. And there, I think we take mistake. We say that with integers. So here we're gonna put type and. So here we create as an array of size 3x5, 5 columns and 3 rows filled with the floating numbers of value 1. It's floating numbers. All our numbers are equal to 1. Let's try now to create an array filled with numbers. Let's take a float numbers. 3, it's 5. Alright. Filled with, let's take a number 2.7 to 2.58. So np point full 3, 5 and 2.58. And run this code. So let's, like we see here, our table, our array matrix are full with one number equal to 2.58. Also, with NumPy we can create an array field with a linear sequence. With NumPy we can create an array filled with a line sequence. We're going to create an array starting with at 0 and ending at 20 with the step of 2. So np point arrange. Let's make our first value is 0, then last value is 20, and our step 2. 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. Okay. We can also create an array of 5 values eventually spaced between 0 and 1. Empty point line space, and let's take 0, 1, and 5. Like you see here, 0 0.25, 0 0.5, 0 0.75, and 1. We had 5 values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's try now a rounded and a normal function. So this one, I think you already know. Also try rounded and normal. So np point random point random 3, 3. As we can see here, we create a matrix with the 3 columns and 3 rows. Every time we had a random values in our table. So let's try again to start this. As we can see, our values are changed. Every time we run this code, our values is changed. Now let's see our table properties. So mp point random again point seed, and let's make 0. Let's take a variable. Let's take x1 equal to mp point random point right int. Let's take 10 and size of 6 equal to 6. This will create for us an array for one dimension. Array of dimension, sorry, 1. Then let's print some properties of our table. So print let's make dimension of our x1 of x1 x1 point and then let's print the shape of x1. For our property, we'll take the shape, the size, and the type of our array. So we're gonna print now the shape of x1 to point x1 point shape. Then print the size of x1 to point x1 point size. Then finally we're gonna print the type of x1. So x1 point type. Oh, sorry, dictate type. Type. That sounds good. So our dimension of array is 1. The shape is C point. Is our size is 6, and the type of our array is int. Now, after creating our arrays using many functions, now we will often need to access one or more elements of any array. So with NumPy, that will be so easy. Let's now take access to one element on our array. So we're gonna print. Let's take x1. Just don't create another array. Let's print x1. So this is our array. Now to access to the first element, so we're gonna to access to the first element. Let's print x1 and we give 0. So our array starts with 0, like first element, then second element is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had 6 elements and the sixth one is number 5. So when we print 0, so he will take the first number. Let's try. So he will give us 0. So when we start counting, so we start from 0, not for 1. Then let's try to access to the last item. In a big array, we can't know where is the position of the last one. So we're gonna just type print x1 and give him -1. -1 is specified to the position of the last element in our array. So he will put 9. If we want 7, we just print for the last one x1 and -2. So if we want start from the last one, we just start -1, -2, -3, -4, and etc. You can also modify the value of one of the elements of the array. We can also modify the values of one of our element of the array. Let's take an example. Let's take the second one. The second value is 0. To change it to 1000, like so x1 equal to x1 and specify the second element equal to, let's give him 1000. Then let's print our array x1. As we can see, the second one is changed from 0 to 1000. So we can access to any element. If we know the position of any element of the array, we can change it with another value. But be careful, our table is integer element, so when you change an element, you must verify if the target is integer in the same type. So pay attention of the type. Pay attention of the type. So let's take an example. Let's take x1, the second one, equal to the point. Let's take float number. Then print x1. Let's try. As we can see, he taken an around, so 3.4 equal to 3. So we changed the values of the decimal numbers and he put it in our array. So pay attention of the type of the target, okay? Let's take an example of an array of dimension 2. Let's take x2 equal, let's create an array x2 equal to mp point random point rand with int values. Let's make 10 and the size equal to 3.4, and let's print our x2, the first 0 equal 1. So before printing, let's try to see our array. Print x2. So our array is a matrix of 2 dimension with 4 columns and 3 rows. If we want to access of any element, we must put print x2 0 and 1. 0 rows, sorry, let's make a more example. 1 1, or let's take 2 1. So our second columns x2 2.1, we access to this element. Sorry, we have no 1.2, 1 columns and 2 rows. It's our line. If we want to access to multiple items, we're gonna select 2 3 items in our array. So we're gonna access to multiple items. Let's try our first print. If we're gonna select from x1 the 5 first element, the first 5 element, we're gonna try to select the first 5 elements. Let's print x1 and open put 5. The first 5 elements. Before that, let's see our x1, our array. So to access to the 5 1 2 3 4 5, access to the 5 first element, we print 2.5. So if we want to access to item from index 5 from 7, I want to access to 9. So sorry, I want to access to the item from index 5. We're gonna type print x1 and put 5, the number of the index, and the rest. So he gonna print 9. If we want to access to every other element, we just print x1 and 2.2.2. He will access to the other 2, 3, 7. Now, after creating many arrays and access to the element of the arrays, if we had 2 arrays and we want to concatenate 2 or more arrays, so let's start to know how to concatenate 2 or more array. So let's create 2 arrays. Let's create x equal to empty point array 1, 2, 3, and y equal to empty point array let's create 3, 2, 1. Let's try to concatenate this 2 arrays. Empty point concatenate, and we open x and y. Let's print that. As we can see, we concatenate 2 array x and y to have one array 1, 2, 3 and 3, 2, 1. We can also concatenate 2 array with a different dimension. Let's take an example. Let's take x equal to empty. We had x equal to empty array, so we're gonna create a grid. Sorry, equal to empty point array 9, 8, 7. And create also the second row is 6, 5, 4. Then we use empty point v stack and put our x and our grade. As we can see, our first element is x and the second element is grade. So we stack the 2 arrays, an array with 1 dimension and an array with 2 dimensions, to create a matrix of 3 dimensions. 1, 2, 3. We can also stack it with the array are of dimension 1. We can use either v stack vertical or h stack to horizontal. So we have seen some very basic things about NumPy tables. From here we will see what makes NumPy really essential. So we're gonna see the universal function. Universal function. first equal to, let's create an array, x equal to np point arrange for, let's print x equal to, let's print our x. So our table, our first array x with element 0, 1, 2, 3. Let's do some operation on our array. We can do also an operation in our array. So x plus 5, like we see, 0 plus 5, 5, 1 plus 5, 6, 2 plus 5, 7, and 3 plus 5, 8. We can also x minus 5. So we can see a negative numbers. We can also use 2 and x division with around 2. If we division with 2, just like this, we can see we're gonna take a float numbers. But if we want to save the type of our array, we just put like that. So let's try. As we can see, our array is now transformed from integer number to float number. Also, we can also call a function on NumPy arrays and even on byte lists. Take example, x equal to a list. Let's put our element 1 minus 2 minus 1. Let's take 1 and 2. Let's try to take the absolute value. So np point abs of x. So here np and print that. As we can see, the minus 2 and the minus 1 is changed to 2 and 1. This is all from our abs absolute value. Now exponential np point exp of x. Also, we can take a logarithm np point log of our np point xp x, and let's print it. As you can see, the logarithm of an exponential is the same. The log of x equal to x. So our array is bucket from equal to x. Also, we can do some Boolean operation. Let's take Boolean operation. Let's create an array x equal to np random point rand and put 3 here. Let's run this. Let's print x with the numbers that will put random. Every time we run this code, we will find some random values. Like we see, we can put x to 0.5. So we're gonna find false, false, true, false, false, true. Let's see our true. X sub r to 0.5, it's true, and it's true, and the rest is false. Let's make one more, and false, 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 true, etc. I hope guys you learn more about NumPy Run. The next tutorial video I will create for pandas to manipulate some data. I hope so guys, I hope you subscribe on our channel to encourage me to put more videos in this channel. So goodbye to the next video.